Good evening. Oh my goodness, it is the end of August. Roy is picking up a toy. Okay, so it is the end of August. It's the 30th of 2022. And I thought I should go over Roy. And I thought I should go over what I've read. So I read books from the middle of July to the middle of August. And then I basically took a big break the second half of August, hung out with my mother, and got distracted by writing again. So I have my physical pile of books. I did make a dent in my shelves, so I will bring those out now. Okay, so these are the physical books that I completed reading in July, middle of July to middle of August. There's a lot. So, where do I put them? Okay, they're upside down, but here they are. I also read one chapter book that was on Libby. So that one, it was fun. That one was called The Vampire Chapter from Library of Doom. That one was pretty good. The punchline was a nice little twist on a pun, so I gave that one 4 out of 5. That one was really fun. I read that for the Summer Scare Readathon hosted by Jessica Williamson. So I thought I would go through and talk about all these lovely things that I read, and just start from the top. So we have Rosemary's Baby, which I read for the Summer Scare Readathon. I really liked it. It's very easy to read. Like, it's very fast-paced and just big text. Enjoyed it. I gave it a 4.5. I don't remember, but I enjoyed it. And then I watched the movie, and it was extremely close. Like, even the background characters were doing the things that the background characters are doing in the book. Like, putting in a peephole in a door way in the background. So, yeah, recommend. It was good. Not too scary at all, but suspenseful, and you really felt for her. Next, in no particular order, I finally read Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. You will notice that every book in this list is horror. So, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. This one has the very creepy pictures. Yes, so fun times. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the illustrations more than the stories themselves. They were told in a way for kids to be able to tell them to their friends, with notes of like, grab them here and scream this part and stuff like that. So I thought it was interesting, and I definitely enjoyed it, and I got the second one, More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. So I'll be reading that soon. And this made me want to write my own children's collection. So yeah, that's on the back of my mind, percolating, a children's collection. Next, we have Small Spaces, which is a middle grade horror. This one says, after suffering a tragic loss, 11-year-old Ollie only finds solace in books. The latest tells a chilling story about a girl, her brothers, and the sinister smiling man. Then, on a school trip to a farm, Ollie stumbles upon Roy, oh my gosh. Ollie stumbles upon the graves of the very people she's been reading about and wonders if the scary story is true. When the school bus breaks down on the way home, the strange driver tells the kids, best get moving. At nightfall, they'll come for the rest of you. Ollie and 2 of her classmates heed the warning. As the trio head out into the woods, the bus driver has one final piece of advice. Avoid large places, keep to small, and with that, the deliciously creepy and hair-raising adventure begins. So there are scarecrows in here. There's a smiling man. Very quick read. I read it in one night for the summer scale readathon. Yeah, big text. It is 286 pages. So a little chunkier, but big text. And I enjoyed it. I gave it like a 3.5 stars. So it was fun. Not very scary at all. The creepiest part was the ghost chapter. So if you know what I'm talking about, that was the scariest part. It was like chapter 16, I think. Anyway, doesn't matter. So, fun times. This is good for younger middle grade if they want spooky, scary. Good stuff. Next is the classic Caroline by Neil Gaiman. So if by some reason you don't know, there's something strange about Coraline's new home. It's not the mist or the cat that always seems to be watching her, or the signs of danger that Miss Spink and Miss Forcible, her new neighbors, read in the tea leaves. It's the other house, the one behind the old door in the drawing room. Another mother and father with black button eyes and papery skin are waiting for Coraline to join them there. And they want her to stay with them forever. She knows that if she ventures through the door, she may never come back. Yes, so classic. I did read this one as a kid. Scared me with the hand that was tapping on the glass window. Definitely not as scary this time, but good stuff. I did not remember the part in the basement. So the basement and the other father, that part was definitely creepy, and highly recommend. Did they give this a 4.5 or a 5? I don't remember. Very good. Loved it. Next is The Stitchers. This is also a middle grade. So this one says, "They're coming for you." Sure enough, each neighbor's gaze follows us through their windows, their eyes hollow like skeletons, their mouths twisted and open like they're screaming. I force myself to wave, even though my arm feels heavy. Mike follows my lead and waves too, even though he looks just as stiff as I feel. Not one neighbor waves back. So this one is actually a comp title to my middle grade horror, Seeds of Doubt. So I loved this book. I was supposed to be reading it analytically, and I just got sucked into the story. So highly recommend. It was great. Yeah, 4.5 stars, I think. Yeah, like just fun times. There was a little bit of like, I don't know, not cutting corners, but like easier outs of, yeah, like save the day at the end, but with some help. So it was the help that was like, yeah, I could see it coming, but it could have been cooler if it was only the kids that defeated it, but whatever. It was great. All right, up next is Hide and Seeker, another middle grade. This one says, "Out of the darkness, no more light. Now it comes to steal your light. On this day, you've sealed your fate by playing what it loves to hate. Once you're tagged, then you'll know. The mark appears, it's your time to go. Z chants. Now you're in the final count. It's closer to the set amount. Whoa, Lyric says. Quincy shuffles back a few steps. What's wrong with him? He ain't right, says Carla. He came back wrong. Z's dazed eyes bob for apples. Up, down, up, down. Now the locks on his bedroom door make sense. Shay giggles, only it comes out like a growl. This is so much fun. Hey, I say, stop messing with him. I won't let you do this. Leave us alone. He leaps off the porch and dashes towards us. Someone screams. We scatter like cockroaches in the light. So this one, I think, is a little bit more upper middle grade. This was a scary one. Like, kids get maimed Like, holy cow. So, like, in the first chapter, a kid that has gone missing comes back after just over a year of being gone. And he is scarred, he is mentally traumatized, and, like, locked in his room with deadbolts just to try and, like, contain him because they can't figure out what's wrong with him. And oh my gosh. And so this is a game of hide and seek that goes supernatural. So very cool. Highly recommend this one. This one is definitely more scary for a middle grade. So I liked this one more than Small Spaces, but this is more upper middle grade. Up next, Nothing But Blackened Teeth. It is a novella. The best part about this book is the cover. Look at that beautiful cover. It's so cool. I ended up giving this one 2 stars. So this was my least favorite of the books that I read. I did a whole podcast episode about what I learned from reading disappointing books. But there are some things to take away from here, like, if you're gonna have a character label the characters as different tropes in a horror situation, like, have the tropes fit the characters. And if you want the ending to be scary, the main character, if they're not a psychopath, should be scared because of the death, like the impending doom and death. If they're just sitting around smoking, I won't care. So, like, just, yes, there was some potential, and just the language was too, like, I don't want to say sophisticated, just the super high level of vocabulary for the inner thoughts did not match the vocabulary of the dialogue at all, even though it was amongst peers. So yeah, I didn't really enjoy it very much, but it's really short, so I finished it. Love the cover. Next up is Beneath, a 100-word anthology, 100-word stories. So each story has 100 words, and I'm actually in here twice. I finally sat down and read it, and I enjoyed it. I gave it 3 stars. So 3.5. I can't remember. I should have looked these up. But anyway, it was fun. A lot of these stories are about, like, being buried alive, that kind of thing. Mine in here is one about the Paris catacombs, and one about beneath the surface of your eye. So those floaters that you see start spelling out SOS. So fun times. But yeah, enjoyed it. Very quick. Finally read it. So that's checked off my list. This came out 2020, I think. 2021. So yeah. And then I read the other one that I'm in twice, which is the Cosmos one, which I liked a little bit better than the Beneath one. So this one is more outer space. 100 terrifying micro stories, 100 words each. Take a trip into the cosmic void. So, like, 100 word stories. And the ones that I wrote, I have a one where you're in the cosmic void and a Lovecraftian creature basically just, like, steals your memories out your eye sockets and stuff. And one about a crack in a space helmet when they're out in space. So that's fun. That's the I Am Debris one. So fun times. Finally read it. My favorite story in here was the one about the android. So that one is called Dead Circuit, I think? Yes, Dead Circuit by Arlo Gorovin, number 112. But yeah, that one had a twist that I really liked, and it was different from the other Cosmos ones. But good times. I enjoyed it. Next one is The Possession of Natalie Glasgow. So I read this for the Summer Scare Readathon as well, and this one was for under 200 pages. Scary word in the title was possession. So this one is: Margaret Willow has never met an 11-year-old as dangerous as Natalie Glasgow. Natalie spends her days comatose, but at night she prowls her mother's home, unnaturally strong and insatiably carnivorous. With doctors baffled, Natalie's mother reaches out to Margaret, an expert in the supernatural. But even Margaret is mystified and terrified by Natalie's condition. She's dying, and before she dies, she might kill someone. Has a demon clawed its way into an 11-year-old girl? Or does the source of the nightmare lie with Natalie's dead father? So this one was fun. I guessed what the possession was, but it was still a fun ride, and the last visual image was very satisfying. I really liked the eyes in it, so nice and creepy. So very fast paced, very quick. So I recommend this one if you want to just like dip your toe into horror very fast. So fun times. The next two, Drabble Dark and Drabble Dark Volume 2. So these are other 100-word horror collections. So these ones are anthologies of dark science fiction, dark fantasy, and dark horror drabble. Stories of exactly 100 words. Then its pages are 101 drabbles by 86 authors. And this one is the same thing, but more stories. So I am not in these ones, but I enjoyed them. There was one about a gnome, a garden gnome, like a ceramic garden gnome that didn't have a garden to protect, so took it out on its owners. It's quite entertaining. My favorite one in both of these was the fairy tale one where, oh my gosh, so it's about the baker who made the dainty dish to set before the king, so the 4 and 20 blackbirds baked in a pie. But the princess wants something baked. And so the dish that he bakes for the princess, fabulous, just fabulous. So that one was in the second one, maybe? Okay, I found it. It's in the first one, Dark Drabble. It's called Enchanted Leftovers by John H. Dromey. D-R-O-M-E-Y. Yes. Highly recommend that particular story. But yeah, so these were fun. I think I gave these ones 3 stars. They were adequate. There was definitely not just horror. There was dark fantasy, dark sci-fi, so not just straight up horrors, but it was fun and got a little bit of inspiration for my own drabbles, so purpose achieved. Okay, I forgot I read these 2 as well. Okay, add them to the pile. So I also read About Horror, the Study and Craft. This is by L. Marie Wood. And this one I gave like 2.5, 3 stars to. It's okay. It's mostly about the history of horror and like extreme basics. Like it only acknowledges one story structure of the Freytex pyramid 3-act. So like there are other ones out there that aren't even acknowledged. But basically it goes over the basics of certain kinds of monsters. You need to edit, and yeah, it was okay. Nothing groundbreaking for me, but I would definitely recommend Riding in the Dark by Tim Wagner instead. But it's fun, and it's good to support horror authors, so I read it. The other one, Successful Self-Publishing by Joanna Penn. So very short. I would give this one 4.5, 5 stars. Like, it's just so short that you need the other books as well. So I have her book about marketing that I need to jump into next, which is much thicker. So her marketing book is much fatter. So probably paired together would be good. Yes, so this one gives tips on publishing, like where to go and what websites to use. So the back says, do you want to successfully self-publish? Thousands of new books are published every day, but many self-published books quickly sink to the bottom of the pile. Many authors are frustrated because there are so many options for self-publishing and they don't know which one to choose or what will be best for their book. Others spend thousands of dollars to publish and end up brokenhearted with the result. But it doesn't have to be this way. So this is her experience of what worked best for her with publishing her 27 books that she has self-published. So good stuff, good resources, lots of like go to this link for downloads and codes and stuff like that. So it was good. And now we are on to the Junji Ito stack. So I read Fragments of Horror, which are, let's see, an old wooden mansion that turns on its inhabitants, a dissection class with the most unusual subject, a funeral where the dead are definitely not laid to rest. Ranging from the terrifying to the comedic, from the erotic to the loathsome, these stories showcase Junji Ito's long-awaited return to the world of horror. So, I read it, I recommend it. It's not my favorite of his collections, but it was good. So it has Futon, Wooden Spirit, Tomio, Red Turtleneck. That one got me. Oh my gosh, a cockroach should not be used that way. Like, no. Gentle Goodbye, Dissection Class, Blackbird, Nagami Nanasuke, Whispering Woman, and Afterward. There's an afterword. But yeah, it was good. The Red Turtleneck one was my favorite out of these. But yeah, always loved Junji Ito. The next one, Deserter by Junji Ito. So, an ever-increasing malice, a mind-numbing terror. See the seeds of horror shown in this collection of Junji Ito's earliest works. So, a vengeful family hides an army deserter for 8 years after the end of World War II, cocooning him in a false reality where the war never ended. A pair of girls look alike, but they're not twins, and a boy's nightmare threatens to spill out into the real world. Oh, that one was good. This hauntingly strange story collection showcases a dozen of Junji Ito's earliest works, from when he burst onto the horror scene, sowing fresh seeds of terror. So, in this one are Biohouse, Face Thief, Where the Sandman Lives, The Devil's Logic, The Long Hair in the Attic, Scripted Love, The Reanimator's Sword, A Father's Love, Unendurable Labyrinth, Village of the Siren, Bullied, and Deserter. So this is definitely his earlier works. You can tell because his drawing style isn't as it is now. So it's still good though. Like the first story actually includes a couple of vampires, and like that's the only time I've seen a classic monster used, because usually his are more ghosts or like out of the box, Lovecraftian. So that was cool, and yeah, it was fun, and I definitely enjoyed the title story, Deserter, where the family keeps the deserter in the dark for 8 years after the war. Like, how evil can you be? Oh my gosh, so good. Shiver. So this one I believe is my favorite of his short story collections that I've read so far. It has Used Record, Shiver, Fashion Model, Hanging Blimp, which is this one, where it's the floating heads, Marionette Mansion, Painter, The Long Dream, Honored Ancestors, and Greased. Greased is just so gross. Ugh, nastiness. So that's my favorite of the short story collection so far. I'm currently halfway through Smashed. So that one's also very good. So like Smash and Shiver, I think, are my two favorite of the short story collection so far. Next is Gyo. So the floating smell of death hangs over the island. What is it? A strange legged fish appears on the scene. So begins Tadashi and Kiori's spiral into the horror and stench of the sea. Here's the creepiest masterpiece of horror manga ever from the creator of Uzumaki, Junji Ito. Hold your breath until it all is revealed. Something's rotten in Okinawa. So, this one is not my favorite of his, but pretty cool. Legged fish. Like, I don't know. It was fun, but it was a little, I don't know. Good, but not the best. I'll put it that way. And then the first book I actually read in all this was the best, and that is Uzumaki by Junji Ito. So spirals. This town is contaminated by spirals. Kuruzucho, a small fog-bound town on the coast of Japan, is cursed. According to Suichi Saito, the withdrawn boyfriend of teenager Kiri Goshima, their town is haunted not by a person or being, but a pattern. Uzumaki, the spiral, the hypnotic secret shape of the world. The bizarre masterpiece of horror manga is now available in a single volume. Fall into the whirlpool of terror. So, this it's just so good. This is my favorite of his work so far. I do have Tomie that has arrived within the last 2 weeks, so I still need to read it, along with Liminal Zone and Remna. Yeah. So I'm still reading more of his body of work, but so far this is reigning supreme. This one is hands down 5 stars. This is the favorite book I have read out of all of these. So I think my favorite chapter is actually Mosquito. So yes, good times. This one actually starts out with like vignettes of things happening in this town, and then it all comes together, and then it's just insane. So it's so good. I loved it. Highly recommend. Chef's Kiss. And they're actually making a faithful adaptation that's going to be animated, like in the style of the book. The trailer came out. I think the movie was supposed to come out like a year or so ago, but they've pushed it back. They're doing it right. It looks amazing what they've shown so far. So highly anticipated for me. So yeah. And that's it. That's everything I finished reading. I started reading a bunch of other stuff, but these are the ones that I finished. So, how many is that? With the 2 that I've had forgotten. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 physical, and 1 Libby one. So 1 audiobook. So 20 books. Not that bad for a month worth of time span. So most of these were very short. Like some of these collections were only 10,000 words total, so you could breeze through them on a lunch break. But yeah, great times. Highly loved all these horror. I intend to continue reading horror, but I want to, not read as much right now and get back into writing some, so that like it's not all or nothing. So I've been doing all writing and no reading, and this past month has been basically all reading and no writing. So I need to find a balance somehow. And yeah, that is it from me with my reading wrap up of middle of July to middle of August. And I will see you guys next time. And remember, keep your writing spooky. Bye!